All right, here we go. Question 58 from our Calculus 1, homework number 3 in WebAssign. It says if the equation of motion of a particle is given by S equal A cosine of omega t plus delta, the particle is said to undergo simple harmonic motion. Part A, they want us to find the velocity of the particle at time t. You need to know that the velocity indicates the first derivative. Although they've kind of already indicated that by writing s prime of t, that's just something you need to know, is that the derivative of the function gives velocity. So what I've done is I've rewritten the formula over here in my notes, changing it from s to s of t equals a cosine of omega t plus delta. In order to find the derivative, to make this a little bit easier, what I'm going to suggest is that we do a substitution. Okay, so let theta be our angle, omega t plus delta. And then what I can do is I can rewrite my function, s of t, but instead of t, now it's going to be s of theta is a cosine theta, and that makes the function much easier to take the derivative of. So here we go, s prime of theta, taking the derivative of cosine gives us negative sine theta, and the coefficient just comes down. But then since we did a substitution, we're going to have to multiply by the derivative of theta. So coming back over here to the side, we can differentiate theta, knowing that t is the variable, and the other two letters are treated like constants. Okay, so the derivative of delta is going to go to 0 since it's considered a constant, and the derivative of omega t, since t is my variable, means I'm going to lose the t and end up with just omega. And so now we can come back and rewrite our derivative in terms of t, giving us negative a sine of theta was omega t plus delta times the derivative of theta, which was just omega. And then simplifying, knowing that this is simply like a number and so is the a, I can go ahead and multiply those together, giving us s prime of theta is negative a omega sine of omega t plus delta. And you can see that I have already entered that in my WebAssign, and that's how you get it. Now for part B, they want to know when is the velocity 0. Remember, the derivative is the velocity, so we want to set that equal to 0, and then we want to solve for t. Okay, so again, now that I've got this recopied up here, solving for t means that the a and w, remember we're treating those like constants, so we would divide both sides by the coefficient of the trig function, and the left-hand side remains 0. On the other side, we now have sine of omega t plus delta. Remember from the unit circle that sine is y. And so now we want to find all of the angles that have a y coordinate of 0. So coming over to our unit circle, we can see that we have a y coordinate of 0 at 0 degrees, but we also have a y coordinate of 0 at pi. So if you consider positive angles, if I start at 0, 0 is going to be a solution because it has a y coordinate of 0. But then if I travel a distance of pi, I arrive at another solution. But then if I go another pi, I arrive back at 0. Now it's 2 pi. But do you see that gets me back to a y value of 0? So I'm going to be able to make this trip an infinite amount of times, either clockwise or counterclockwise, as long as I start at 0 and increment by pi, I'm going to get solutions to this equation. Okay, so here's what we know. We know that for whatever angle this is, theta, it's going to give us solutions if theta equals 0 or any increment of pi. And the way we write that is we say pi times n, and then n would be an integer. So if n is 0, this disappears and we get a solution. But then if n is 1, that goes to pi and that gets us another solution. And so n can be any number, but remember we're trying to solve for t, and so now what I need to do is I need to substitute for theta what it is. That is omega t plus delta equals 0 plus pi n. And some of you may be thinking, do I really need to say 0 plus? Isn't 0 plus pi n just pi n? Yeah, you can do that. You can say, so that's just going to equal to pi times n. And then to solve for t, we're going to move the delta over, making it minus delta. Omega t equals pi n minus delta. And then if I divide everybody by omega, I get my answer for t. And so this, you can see I have already input over here. It doesn't look the same, but it's the same answer. Negative delta over omega is this term, plus pi over omega times n. That is how you arrive at the solution to this particular problem. So, if you have any questions or comments about anything covered in this video, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below, or you can text me. And thanks for watching.